Hello. I have a super fun episode of Plenty for you today. It is with my longtime friend, Laura Belgray, who is the author of Tough Titties on living your best life when you're the effing worst. So Laura is a copywriter. She is the founder of Talking Shrimp, and she's the co-creator of the copy cure that she created with our mutual friend, Marie Forleo. She's a brilliant writer, and I have been soaking up her emails for over a decade. And in this episode, we talk about how she got a book deal for this book, which is not connected to her copywriting business, and how she managed to do that when it wasn't related to her direct expertise, because she really felt like she wanted to write a book of essays and not have like takeaways and bullet points and not be personal development-y, which I really honor and like I think was awesome. I love this book so much. In the episode, we also talk about copywriting, how to be a great storyteller, how to sell more of your programs. And she tells a lot of funny stories. She makes me laugh. I tell the story of how we met in the basement of a personal development program, and so many other things. So enjoy the episode. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna love Laura, and you're gonna be a better writer after you listen. Have fun. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're going to dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups. Please note that the opinions and perspectives of guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand. Hey, Laura, thanks for coming on Plenty.
Oh, hi, Kate. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. This is so fun. I've been really looking forward to it.
Me too.
Okay, so you and I met in the basement of some kind of personal development workshop or something. I don't know.
It actually sounds so creepy.
I don't remember what the event was or what we were doing, but I do remember meeting you. That was the salient point.
And I think it was like 2009 or 2000.
It was
right?
early days.
Yeah,
it was early days. And we got to talking with our mutual friend, Marie, who introduced us. And the topic came up because at the time I was in yoga teacher training with our friend, Josh. And I had told you this funny story about how I was told by my yoga teacher, Colleen Seidman, not to adjust women in downward dog in this particular way. Especially if they had ever given birth before. Because, why? Do you remember why you should not adjust women in a specific way in downward dog?
Because it might cause them to queef.
It might cause them to queef. And then there you were, just like off to the races about the queefing.
About the queefing, yeah. We had a whole queef conversation.
We did. And so I was going to remember you forever, whether we remain friends or not. But luckily, we remain friends. So there's many other funny moments. But that was just like one of the funniest ways to meet somebody.
It's our origin story.
It's a good one.
And yeah, and I didn't even remember how it came up. I just remember queef.
Oh, well, I'll never forget sitting in yoga teacher training being told, don't adjust women from behind in this particular way who have had children because they will queef.
But I'll tell you what, I haven't had kids, but I decided then and there, I'm not going to yoga.
The end.
Ever. The
Had
end.
you been going beforehand?
No.
I didn't.
And I never have since.
And now that's off the table.
Off the table.
Off the table. Okay. So I want to know. So you're very funny.
Thank you.
Which you know about yourself. And you wrote a very funny book, Tough Titties, which is one of my top favorite books that I read in 2023. Possibly, I mean, it's really right up there with like all of the funniest books I've ever read.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Bossy Pants and like, right?
That's my dream. I mean,
come on.
That's my model. That's what, like David Sedaris and Tina Fey. Tina Fey's book, like that was, I think, one of the first nonfiction books I read.
Really?
Yeah. Like I was never really into nonfiction. And so I finally found an unput downable nonfiction book in hers. Like I didn't want it to end.
So funny.
It was so good.
So funny. Okay. Yours was equal. Shoulder to
Thank
shoulder. I read it while we were away for a weekend with the kids on spring break. And I basically was hiding away from everybody and telling them to not talk to me because it was unputdownable. But what's interesting about this book is that it is not about your area of expertise that you are known for in your career, which is incredible copywriting and marketing. Why did you feel so compelled to write a book that is not about your area of expertise? When it would have been the obvious thing to do.
Yes. I mean, the obvious thing to do was something that, like, whenever I thought about it, about writing that book, I thought I would rather eat a bag of hair every day.
So that sounds awful.
Yeah. And, maybe someday, but I offer courses on that.
Right.
That cost a lot more than a book and that are actually easier to sell than a book.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
But this is the book I wanted to write. And I was like, if I'm going to write a book, which I know is a journey full of pain and frustration and crying and all kinds of things, it's going to be the book I want to write. Like I liked writing stories. I mentioned David Sedaris. I loved his kind of writing, that personal essay, like funny personal essays. And so that is what I always wanted to do. So I was like, if I'm going to write a book, I'm writing the book I want to write.
Was it hard to get the book deal given the disconnect between, and yeah. I say this with like all love and support because I love it when people do things that are unexpected.
Yes.
And I honor, admire you because quite frankly, sometimes writing like how-to personal development ebooks or whatever is a real drag. And it's what I write. And I sort of would rather write what you write. So
which you should.
I'm just saying this in full admiration.
But thank you. Yes. It did make it challenging to get a book deal. First, to get an agent, because the agents who looked at my proposal were like, love the writing, it's very funny. But, to be honest, it's going to be really hard to sell a book of essays or a memoir by someone who's not famous, no offense. And it's like, none taken.
You were like, well, obviously you're not in the digital marketing, personal development space, because if you were, I am famous.
You got to get in my pond, my tiny little pond where I'm a big fish. So, yeah, so they, and they didn't necessarily suggest it should be a copywriting marketing book, but they were just like, this isn't the kind of thing that sells. So I'm going to have to pass. And then when I did find an agent who was interested, I made them swear to me. I was like, I'd love to work with you, but you have to swear to me that you're not going to sell it to somebody who then baits and switches and asks me to write a personal development or marketing or copywriting or how-to book. Right. Now, I'm not writing anything with bullet points at the end of each chapter. No, your next steps, no sidebars telling you your takeaways, none of that. No, here's what you'll learn on the back cover. Not doing it. And so she said, okay, promise. And then sure enough, she was asked by publishers that she went out to, would she be willing to make it a marketing book or copywriting book, something that her audience would want? And she said, no. And she had told me like, okay, we're going out with it, these dates in late September, set aside these 3 days for meetings with editors. So, I set those aside, and leading up to it, I was like, I'm still holding those dates, right? She's like, yeah, keep them open. And then she got back to me. She's like, okay, you put this, 2 p.m. meeting with this editor in your calendar. I was like, okay. And what else? And she was like, well, that's it for now, but I'll get back to you. And then the day came and she was like, no, that's it.
Okay, great. So you went to that meeting.
Went to that meeting, and that editor bought my book.
See, it only takes one.
Yeah, it only takes one.
And what a saved amount of time you had.
Yeah, that's true. Right? I didn't have to.
You had all that other part of the day for you. That's great.
Without Zoom calls. Exactly. So it all worked out.
That's amazing. Was there during the process of finding an agent for this book, was there any point where you were like, maybe this isn't going to work. Should I not do this? Like, because something you write about a lot that I appreciate about you is, you talk about how you're lazy. And you and I have that in common. And so was there a part that you were just like, this isn't worth it. This takes a lot of effort or
not in the agent seeking process. Like I had put so much work into the proposal.
Okay. You were like, I'm doing this.
And I was like, I am doing this.
Great.
I'm going to find an agent. And I think I got like 6 rejections before I got a yes.
Okay.
But it felt like a ton. Now I know that people get maybe hundreds.
Totally.
So I got super lucky, but 6 is nothing. But still, to get like rejection after rejection after rejection up to 6.
I'm sure 6 felt like a lot.
Yeah, it felt like a lot.
Yeah. When you were writing, so I'm writing a book proposal right now. I've never written one before, so I don't know what I'm doing. Can you just tell me, this is now just a personal question.
What
was the process for you? Did you work with a coach? Did you work with what was it like for you? What was the agonizing part, and what are your tips?
Yeah. So I did work with a coach, with like my book writing mentor, Suzanne Kingsbury, who I talk about a lot. She helped me figure out what the book would be. And then she helped me with the proposal. And like the biggest help was she gave me a couple of sample proposals. Great. One that she probably wasn't supposed to give me but I won't name them, and she won't get in trouble. And the other one was Jen Sincero's.
Oh, yeah.
You Are a Badass. And that was several years old. But it still gave me a structure. Like between the two of those and checking out the style, like the other one was also in a funny conversational tone, and a book of personal essays.
Okay.
So that just having that structure was key. I would never have been able to figure it out without a couple to model. And then I'd write each section and then go through it with her, and she would help me and say like, okay, I think we need one sentence here that says this and one sentence.
Okay.
Like it was really helpful to do it with somebody who knew what's working right now and what people are saying yes to.
And some people have told me that writing the proposal was harder than writing the book. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
And
check yes or no.
Right. The proposal was challenging, but it's like broken up into little paragraphs and sections that you don't have to be like, oh, well, this one doesn't transition nicely to this one. And so, one section is about your comps, meaning like what authors would you be on the shelf next to? Who would you be compared to? And those were,
Tina Fey.
It's right, Tina Fey. Yeah. So I wrote a paragraph about each one of those, like the book that was similar and what about it would, be similar to mine.
Okay.
So those chunks were, I put a lot of work into each of them, but it wasn't like, this isn't fitting together. I don't know what to leave in. I don't know what to cut out. And then the book process was a whole mess of, months of, I can't fit this story into my book and I don't know how to make it work. And my editor, thinks there aren't enough takeaways, and I thought we weren't doing a book with takeaways. Totally. And she says my audience wants wisdom, and I don't have any wisdom. Oh my God! I just want to tell my stories. Yeah. But
inherent in the stories that you told are a lot of takeaways. I would like to share with you what I took away from your book. Okay. So I took away it's okay to do things on my own timeline. I don't have to be good at everything in order to succeed in life. I should be less precious about trying to keep my embarrassing stories to myself, because that doesn't matter. And we all do sort of weird stuff that, whatever.
Yeah.
And also we can be lazy where we're lazy because it saves us the energy to really double down where it matters.
Yes.
So that's what those are some of the takeaways of wisdom that I got.
Which I love. And I did work hard in the end to put that in. And I finally came around to her point after going to my agents and being like, she's doing it. She's trying to make They're like, no, she just wants these to have some sort of an arc to them, some kind of and that was true. And that I started reading other people's memoirs and personal essays, and some by celebrities. And sometimes I would read a story that I was like, okay, that's fun, but what's the point? And I was like, oh, that's how people are going to read mine.
That's how people feel. It is true. But my favorite kind of books are the books that don't tell me what they are telling me.
Right.
Which is yours
Thank
is
you.
very firmly
Right.
in that category. Like I got to have my own. It makes me feel like you are treating me like a grown-up.
Right. With some respect.
With some respect. Okay. What was the most fun part about writing it?
I just loved getting down on paper, on the page, all these stories that I've been dining out on for years and years and telling and obsessing over. I mean, one about like the toxic boyfriend, the married salsa instructor. I've been spent.
Like, what were you doing dating him? Let's just talk about that.
This is going to sound really mercenary, but I really wanted those free salsa lessons.
Oh my God.
No,
Because reading that chapter about the salsa boyfriend, I was just like, he didn't seem to have a lot of redeeming qualities, and you're so great. So what do you think was going on there?
Well, he had what the kids now call Riz.
Oh.
He had a lot of charisma.
Okay, yeah.
He was
I bet
very,
he did.
he was an alpha, and I had just been in a relationship for like the same amount of time with someone who was not alpha. He was wonderful, lovely, funny, great guy, the kind of person I should be with. And I was like, I don't want to dominate. I don't want to be told what to do.
Totally.
And so I was in the mood for some alpha, and he brought it.
He did.
And he was also, a sociopath, and
Which is appealing in its own way.
exactly. So you can see why I fell for him.
And I'm sure he was a great dancer.
He was a great dancer.
Is very attractive.
And I was obsessed with dancing, and having somebody like twirl you around and help you get better. I mean, I talk about in the book how they're cliches for a reason, because they're kind of true. And the cliche of like falling in love with your professor or with your mentor, with your dance teacher, all of them, your psychiatrist, your surgeon, all those people who we feel hold the key to who we want to be. It's very easy to fall in love with them. Yeah. And so he was that for me at the time. I was like, he is my gateway to greatness, to the person and dancer I want to be. And then I did, like I fell for him because maybe I convinced myself, or maybe he did. Maybe he did have that power. I mean, he was hot in his weird way.
And you did get really good at salsa.
I did get really good at salsa.
So
I'm not really good anymore, but
I'm sure it would be like riding a bike.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure it would.
It might be.
I'm sure it would come right back. Okay, so you've been married for how many years?
17.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it'll be 17 this year. Married
and you're
2007. Yeah.
Really into your husband. I love hearing you talk about your husband. I have met him now once briefly, but I hadn't met him for a long. What a great guy. But I'm curious. Did he get the squirms at all, like reading your book?
There are at least 2 chapters that he will not read, ever.
Ever?
Yeah.
One is blowjobs I gave in the 90s.
That's right.
Clearly.
Chapter 9. Yeah. And he was like, there's some things you can't unsee. And the chapter we were just talking about.
Oh, he won't read that one.
No, he won't.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to. He has seen that guy once. He spotted him once, right after we had just met. I was still with Antonio and Stephen. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was an overlap.
Yeah, there was an overlap. Stephen and I was still with him when I met Stephen, and Stephen was with somebody, and Stephen spotted me in a restaurant with the guy, and he was wearing a long black leather coat.
The guy. That doesn't seem like okay.
That he had custom made in Korea on one of his dance tours. And he was very proud of this coat, and he called it his metrics coat, but he meant matrix. But anyway, he was wearing that at the table, and Stephen thought that he was my bodyguard.
Incredible. Yep. Incredible. So did you tell Stephen not to read those chapters, or he just started them and knew?
No, well, he knew from the title of one of them.
Blowjobs
I gave in the early 90s. He's like, I know what that's about. And
speaking of knowing, I know what that's about. You're a brilliant marketer.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I have learned from you is how to write great titles, how to write great headlines. And I am wondering, because we have people who are listening in who want more clicks on their emails, who want more people to actually read their sales pages and stuff. what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making when they possibly title chapters, but also headlines, sales page, like, subject lines, stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, especially
Like, where are we screwing it up?
I mean, I think you are masterful at it. Actually, I get your emails sometimes. I'm like, damn it, that's a good subject line. And I don't steal people's subject lines. I get so annoyed when people steal mine.
Steal yours, yeah.
So I don't steal yours, but it's tempting. I'm like, how could I make a version of that?
I get inspired by yours all the time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love your subject lines.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone listening, you got to get on Laura's email list. Go to talkingshrimp.com. Get on the email list. I've been on your email list for over a decade. I'm never going to unsubscribe. It's delightful. It's funny. I learned something, and I have become a better copywriter from it.
Oh, so thank you. Yeah, and you're so good. So if that's true, then you do me proud. Under
your tutelage.
Don't fall in love with me.
You hold the key to my greatness.
Exactly. Okay, so just thinking about subject lines, because it's always on my mind.
Yeah.
One mistake, I think it's a mistake, is to put it all in title case.
I agree.
You want your subject lines, you want your email to feel like it is, I like to call it an EFAB, email from a bestie. You want it to, like, when we're going through our inbox, what jumps out at us is something that feels like it's for us.
Right.
And something in title case, it screams newsletter. It screams something we don't have to look at. Yeah. That's not to me, that's to everyone. Mm-hmm. And other mistakes I see, one of them is when people try to invoke curiosity by by adding the word why, like, why bananas have the most potassium of any fruit. I'm like, I don't care. You just told me the whole thing. I'm not going to open this to find out why.
I'm not curious.
Right. Was it evolution? I don't care.
But why you'll die without eating bananas.
Yes.
That also kind of sucks, but it's slightly better.
No, I would want to know that. Yeah. Or, why you'll die without eating this one long yellow thing. But like, I like something like, what you could make it a riddle, like what's long and yellow and prevents leg cramps.
I like that.
Then
one. That's cute.
Then I'm like, oh, maybe it's a banana.
Yellow leg warmers.
Right, yellow leg warmers.
Maybe
a yellow ice pack.
Maybe. Yellow wellies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you you don't want to give away the whole story, and you don't want to try too hard to be super clever. Also, you don't want I like things that are intriguing and you don't necessarily know what it's about. But you don't want to be too obscure. Okay. You don't you don't want to write something like palm fronds. I don't think. Maybe I'd open that.
I want you to try out the subject line.
Palm fronds.
That's it. Lowercase p, lowercase f, and report
no
back
period
on open rates.
Yeah, I
will. Okay, so you started writing emails for a living, sort of.
Yeah.
Like about when we met? No.
Took me a while.
Took you a lot.
Took me a while. Because when we met, back then I was still mostly writing promos for TV. So I was writing for big clients. And then as a freelancer. And then I was also starting to write for private clients. We worked together. You were one of my early clients.
You wrote
2010.
The best sales page for the Money Love course.
Thank you. And I remember it. It
was really good.
I remember being like, this is a really good course.
Well, we sold over 5,000 of that course and made over $1 million. I mean, over time, not all at once.
Yeah.
And so, totally worked. The course is good, but also the copy.
Also the copy. You need good copy.
You need both.
You need a good offer and you need good copy. So I was doing that kind of work for a long time and also writing blog posts that had nothing to do with anything.
On talkingshrimp.com.
Yeah, on talkingshrimp.com. People would opt in for my email list with the freebie, which I still have, 5 Secrets to Non-Sucky Copy. Our friend Marie Forleo advised me to use that. I gave a talk about it at her first Rich, Happy, and Hot Live event. And she was like, just, make that a PDF and use it as your freebie. So I was doing that. And so people would opt in for those 5 secrets to non-sucky copy. And then I would send them emails that were teasers to my blog posts that had nothing to do with copy whatsoever.
Incredible. Genius business model.
Major strategy.
But I really I've loved your emails all through that time. And one of the things about your emails that you do so well is you tell stories, which is obviously why your book is so good. So for people who want to get better at storytelling, well, first of all, why might somebody want to get better at storytelling? Let's start there.
Okay. Well, first of all, that's what is entertaining. That's what we perk up and listen to. That's what keeps us reading. Like, we're not fascinated by 5 tips to stretch your hamstrings necessarily. We might Google it. We might Google it, but we're not going to be like, oh my God, you have to read this. This is the most compelling thing I ever read. And I had to look up the person who wrote it. No. But when you tell a story, you're connecting to people, they're connecting to you, and they feel pulled into your world, especially if you're telling personal stories. They don't have to be stories about yourself. You can tell stories about other people.
You do that really well.
Thank you. But your personality should be in them if we're talking about your own marketing that you're doing, and people get to know you and your voice, and they feel like they know you, and that's why they will choose you. Like, you're offering the same thing that 400 other people they can think of off the top are offering. They'll say, I want to learn this from Kate. I don't want those other courses. I'm actually buying this just to be in her orbit. So it works telling stories.
It works because it connects with people.
And it's what keeps people opening your emails and clicking on your stuff. If it's just the same takeaways, actionable advice over and over, people get burned out on actionable advice. They're like, you know what? I'm too lazy. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to open that because I know I'm not going to do it. But if it's a story, if you write something that says like, this is really embarrassing to tell you.
It's a good subject line, obviously.
I feel like you've sent things out like that. You've definitely sent out things where I'm like, oh, what's she going to reveal? And
it's probably like, I started a podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right? Well, like the one where you ended the podcast. I feel like that was marketing something. I can't remember what it was. I think it was something like you might have been a competing affiliate for. And I was like, God damn her, this is going to get so many opens. Everyone's going to buy from her. Because this was brilliant. Like, everyone's opening it for the story. They're not opening it for the course that you're partnering with.
No, of course not. But over time, having been a subscriber of yours for a long time, you have trained me that the emails are going to be good. I really don't care what the email is about. Right. I just open it for the stories. Your emails and Tarzan K's, I open for the stories. I have bought many of your things. I bought a few of Tarzan's things, but like, I'm really there for the stories. Yeah. And I know that like, that's true of your entire subscriber base. And I would imagine you have higher than average open rates because you're so funny. Do you think that's true?
I like to think so.
Yeah. I mean, have you compared?
No.
Okay.
No, because like
you show me yours if
I'll
show you mine.
I do enough self-comparison.
You don't need to be doing that
all day long. I have a blocker right now. I like this app on my phone that shuts off my socials. So that I have to consciously unblock them in order to open them. Yeah. Because otherwise I'm going to start scrolling Instagram
for that.
And be like, oh, that's what I said I was going to do. And now she's doing it. And like, oh God, I'm so behind. And she's so successful. And
all that stuff.
Ice baths. I can't do that.
Amazing. What are you doing with all that extra time?
I don't have any extra. It doesn't go anywhere.
It just doesn't go anywhere?
It transfers to, no, you know what? I always end up opening something if I'm reaching for my phone. Yeah. But I end up opening the news more. Oh, and sometimes that is TMZ.
Incredible.
So now I know who's dead.
Because does TMZ always lead with who's dead?
Like, what celebrity is dead?
Really?
What celebrity? It's all 58-year-old B-list celebrities are dying all day long. That's always,
knew?
or sometimes these are the ones I don't open. It's like, 99-year-old so-and-so's cause of death revealed. All we know at the link in bio, just like, I think we know this person died from being 99.
I think it's
Most
clear.
likely.
Okay, if you think you might be a terrible storyteller, what advice do you have? Like whether verbally or in written form?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. I pay attention to stories, read a lot of stories, read a lot, read books.
Read Tough Titties.
Read books, read great emails, read essays, read things that, read great articles that are story-based, and figure out like what kept me reading or what kept me listening to the story. How is this person pulling me in? How did they start the story? Did they start with a long rambling paragraph that explains what they're about to tell you? Oftentimes we as humans find ourselves in predicaments that challenge us, but turn out to be a blessing in disguise.
You sound like AI right now.
Right, exactly.
That's how ChatGPT talks.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then, but, now introducing the hot new course that's flying off the shelves with something for everyone that will delight friends, families, and young children alike. I mean, it's just word salad.
What is the problem with being for everyone from a marketing perspective? Like, do you get people writing back to your emails who are offended?
Oh yeah, I do.
I would imagine.
I do.
Because you're a little like...
No, it can be a little spicy.
You can be. Yeah.
Right.
I like
sometimes
it.
I curse. Sometimes I
And sometimes you say things that are borderline offensive, and I'm here for it.
I do. And I try not to be gratuitously offensive.
No, not at all.
But I don't do it for the sake of it. Like I'm going to get people mad. But sometimes I got to say what I got to say. Sometimes I'm like, I would do better to take this out in terms of not offending people. But first of all, I always have to remind myself, because I'm sensitive. It stings when people criticize me or write back, and it takes everything in my power not to be defensive and write back right away. So I have to remind myself that, first of all, no great book, song, movie, TV show, work of art, anything ever created was created in the spirit of don't be annoying or don't offend anybody. That is not creative juice. No. And nothing is for everyone. No brand, no musician, no artist, no anything, no writer. There's nothing that is for everyone. I would challenge you to name. Can you name anything that's for everyone? And oxygen doesn't count. That's not a brand. That's not.
No one's selling that. Well, not particularly. No.
There's nothing. For anything.
Even some people say they don't like water.
Right.
I know people who are like, oh no, I don't like water.
Right. Someone would say water. I'm like, there are a lot of people who don't like water.
Yeah.
And then it's also like, what kind of water? Soft water, hard water?
Totally.
Fiji.
Tap.
No, Fiji's bad for the environment.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
Which it is. But I like it. I actually prefer it. And I like smart water. But, so there's absolutely nothing that is for everyone. And so I have to remind myself that all the time so that I don't try to water myself, try to please everyone and start thinking about what about this person who said they like it when I write about this? Like, I'm not writing to them today.
Yeah. How do you keep all your ideas organized?
No, I don't.
You don't.
I'm terrible.
Great. Okay, love that.
I mean, I keep a lot in Evernote, but then sometimes I switch to Notes because Evernote locked me out and 100%. I can't find my password.
Oh my God, thank you for being so normal and great. I can
sometimes it's Google
very
Docs.
Similar.
And I'm like, where was that great idea? I'm like, I think I tagged it under ideas and I can't find it anywhere.
Who knows what I labeled it with?
The important thing is to write it down. Somewhere. When you have an idea, write it down somewhere, even if you never find it again. I
do think it helps you remember just because you've written it down, even if you can't find it again.
Right, I agree. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
and we cannot. I mean, at least those of us over 30. Can't trust our memories. If we do, we're fools.
Speaking of age, you hit 7 figures at 50?
Yeah, at 50.
At 50, which is great. And I know it was a goal of yours for a while. What do you think unlocked that for you? And tell me, like, what was important about A, that milestone, what mattered about it to you, and B, what were some of the steps that like helped you to grow to that size?
Yeah. Well, what was important about that milestone is just like, it's just a significant number to all of us, no matter how insignificant it becomes in the economy. It's like, I mean, this has always been a joke since it came out. $1 million. It's like,
I know.
But it was something I wanted to achieve. I saw people around me achieving it, or multiple times, many 7 figures.
Yeah.
And I like having money. Yeah. There's a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills named Erica Jane, who has a song. She's a performer and training for her Vegas residency. And she has a famous song, called "It's Expensive to Be Me." And it really strikes a chord with me. I'm like,
it's expensive to be you.
It's expensive to be me. I don't want to fly economy. I like to stay in nice hotels. Yeah. My husband has a nasty art habit. Oh. Nasty meaning he spends a lot on it, really likes to buy art. And I like to enable that. Yeah. And we live in New York City. Yeah. So expensive. That was why that was important to me. The shifts that I made to get there, one was, so I never really finished, like, when did I start making money from writing emails?
Okay, thank you for looping back.
We left an open loop.
Yeah, come on back.
Yes. So pulling it back in. So I stopped taking private clients at a certain point, like 2018-ish. It was a big leap for me, and I didn't know how I was going to make up for that money and multiply what I was making. But I worked with a coach who encouraged me to, first of all, I said, I love, the thing I love doing most is in the Copy Cure, my course with Marie Forleo, we had started doing these live with Laura sessions, and people would just feed me questions and I would answer them on the fly. No prep, no homework. And then I would also do copy makeovers, which was a bit more work. What I loved the most was the on the fly answering questions. And so he said, well, if you love doing that, you should have a group program.
Great.
And I was like, oh, I never thought I was capable of having a group program. It's like, I just didn't think of myself as a leader. Because I don't even like to tell people where to sit at a dinner party. So it's like, am I going to lead a group? But I created a thing called Shrimp Club, which is a mastermind, a group program, and it filled, and I've been running it ever since. And that made me as much as I was making from private clients alone.
It's incredible.
All right. And then I launched my own course, which was Inbox Hero that year so when I like got rid of clients, I was dedicated to making my emails pay me. I had always written them as just like fun stuff. And then I'd used my copy for other people to help them make money.
Right.
And I was like, now I'm going to use my copy to make me money. So I started selling my mini courses more, writing more emails, making them more of a sell sometimes. And that brought in a lot more dough. And then I launched my course, Inbox Hero. So everyone was telling me we need a course of like before and after examples of emails. And so I created that. And that brought in, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I didn't think I was capable of having a launch. Because it's like, to have a launch, you have to do three videos. You have to do it, Jeff Walker style. You have to do the 3 videos and have affiliates and drive everyone to the videos and then get them to. And this, I was like, the course was a PDF and I sold it through my emails, a couple of Instagram posts, and it worked. And it worked.
And did you have like a launch runway for it where you kind of led up to it in emails where you were warming people up, or were you just like, ta-da?
No, I did like consciously. I knew I planned it as a launch on my 50th birthday. I was like, I'm going to put this out on my birthday. And even though I'm going to be away and celebrating then, I'm like, I'll just do the work ahead of time. I'm like, no, that never happens. But knowing that, I wrote like 2 weeks of emails about emails. It was like, I won't call it email month. I'll call it email half month. Mm-hmm. And so talking about the importance of emails and what you can do with email and what's possible. Are we being
I'm not sure.
drowned out by sirens?
Do we stop for
We're good. Okay, good.
Carry on.
Awesome. Feels like New York.
Yeah, similar.
Yes. So I had that run with like a 2-week runway to it and got everyone whipped up with excitement and sold it. And it was, I was just amazed. It was a 6-figure launch. And I couldn't believe like, oh, I can do this. I can do this by I had been doing it as an affiliate for other people, but using their assets and their, it's like, okay, it made me feel capable.
Yeah. And also you've done it always. Like in our industry, there is a lot of like, oh, they did it like this, so let me do it like that. Yeah. And I really admire you just being like, yeah, that's not who I am.
Right.
I'm just going to do it like this. Like email's your thing, you email, right? You don't do webinars.
No.
You don't do videos.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like never say never.
Never say never. I mean, you'd be great on video. I'm sure you'd do great at all of it, but it's like you've doubled down on what you're good at and what people expect from you, and you're good at it. Now, you do have these, right now you were doing a launch of Book Launch Hero.
Yes.
Right. So, which I love. And so with that one, did you do a similar thing? Did you do like a couple weeks of lead up? No, you were selling something else and then people wanted it because it was a bonus. Tell me what was happening there.
So I knew it was coming up. It's like a crammed month. But I knew I had to offer Inbox Hero in January, because that's when I always launch it, and there was nowhere else to put it, and it's a moneymaker for me. And people want it. There's a lot of demand for it. And do you
only offer it when you offer it? Like you can't just get it anytime?
Right. And I have not, evergreened it, because that's I think it's awesome to have a working funnel, like an automation, but it requires advertising to make it work, and I don't like putting money into ads because I just don't have confidence in them. I always feel like
it really can be just like driving down the street throwing money out the window.
Exactly.
If it's not working.
And I hate that idea. Yeah. So it's open when it's open, and at least for now. And then I knew I offered an early bird price on Book Launch Hero, which I knew I was going to launch. So I talked about it a bit, but not a whole lot. I did these pretty much back to back, like shut the cart for Inbox Hero, the week before, and right after the weekend, like shut it on Friday, and then Monday, boom, Book Launch Hero is open. And I felt like, I could spend weeks talking about it and getting people excited, but I just wanted to just put it out there and be lazy about it.
I love that. It's so good. Okay, I have more questions.
Yes, keep asking.
I want to know about all the different. Okay, in Shrimp Club.
Yeah.
I love just like knowing the different ways people are doing things behind the scenes, because again, it never has to be any which way. Right. You just get to do it the way that's right for you.
Yeah.
So in Shrimp Club, you get on and you do rapid fire Q&A with your people.
It's more hot seats. So we do 10-minute hot seats.
And everyone gets one each month?
And everyone gets one each month. So we do 2
limit,
calls. Yeah.
You limit the number of people.
Half of them go the first call.
And you're the only one doing the advising.
Right.
So that's great.
Yeah.
And is there a live event?
Yes, we have one retreat. It's a 1-day retreat.
And how many people?
20.
20 people. Actually, and it's 6-month program.
It's 8 months.
8 months. You launch it once a year.
It started as 6 months, and I was like, people are just getting going at the 6-month mark. So I made it 9 months. And then I was like, people are losing their momentum in the 9th month.
Okay, so 8 months. I love that. See, you trial and error. And is there like a specific criteria that you have to join Shrimp Club?
No, not really. You have to be a cool person.
Yeah.
And
so you apply.
Yeah. There's an application.
Okay.
And I put the price in there.
Yes,
So,
right.
because I don't want to do that whole thing of like, you've been invited to have a call with me, and then I'll tell you the price on the call. I don't like any of that.
Right.
So, yeah. So I asked them if they're, ready, willing, and able to pay the price. And the people who say yes are in one pool. The people who say no, once in a while, if I'm like, this person is amazing, I really want them in, maybe there's a scholarship. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Or is there a way that it could be doable for you?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they apply, and it's a whole range of experience and businesses. It's not all copywriters. It's people with all different kinds of businesses. If someone's like, I don't have a business or a business idea, can you help me figure out what I want to do in life? They're probably not a fit, because they're not going to add that much to other people. But people who are beginners, I think, do bring a lot to the table.
I think they do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sometimes I've gotten the best insight or the best feedback from folks who are new in business, and I've been at it for a long time, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to look at things that way, or like, whatever, because we don't know what we don't know, so we ask good questions.
Right.
Often.
Right.
Okay, that's great. And then with Book Launch Hero, is it like a PDF, or is it pre-recorded, or is it live?
It's going to be a live double workshop.
Okay.
Like 2 days in a row. And I am walking through everything. I've got slides. I'm still working on them. It's a lot. I'm walking through everything that I did to promote Tough Titties, to launch this book. And it's not necessarily your blueprint. Like, what worked for me might not work for you.
Totally.
You pick and choose. It's a buffet.
But you're saying this is what I did.
Yeah.
And you did do a lot of things.
I did a lot.
Yeah. Like, do you have any, now you're about 7 months out from the publishing date. What was really surprising to you about the book launch process that you didn't expect?
Yeah.
Which is what surprising means.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is the definition of surprise.
I wanted to help you with that.
There were some surprises I was expecting, waiting for. But no, sometimes you are like the surprise that it is totally up to you, up to the author, to sell your book, to do everything. And nobody you would expect to help really helps. I'd been told that.
Yeah.
And I kind of expected to be surprised by how helpful they were, like, because they seemed it, like on calls that we had, like, oh, we're going to get you this and we're going to get you that, and zilch. I did just about everything. And there was some help, like good merch and mailings, and some people had, but in general, it's like, yep, everyone's right. It's all on you. And so, but one thing that did surprise me is I thought, like, all these titles, there's so many titles with fuck in the title.
Yeah.
Or the subtitle.
Those
no
do
big
great.
deal. All you need is an asterisk. And those are in Target, and they're
everywhere.
And they're advertised, whatever. But having the word titties, so, like, I was supposed to have a billboard in Times Square and spent money someone was gifting it to me, and I spent all this money, not a ton of money, but still significant chunk, getting a video made, and they rejected it, the billboard committee.
Wow. You can have actual titties all over Times Square. You just can't say the word.
Right. Titties with nothing more than some tassels on them, or or those things they put on you at the mammogram. Like those. What is that? Those little metal things. I don't know what they're.
Weird. I've never had a mammogram.
What?
That's a whole other conversation. We'll keep that.
I'm not going to lecture you. Girl.
No. I do breast health scanning. Just
good.
In a different way.
Good.
With thermograms.
Yeah.
Okay. Just don't send me a DM.
Yeah. Don't
about
DM
my breast health.
about her titties.
I'm on it.
Yeah. She's on it. She's on the titty front. So yeah, you can have titties everywhere, all over Times Square, but you can't say the word titties. And so it was rejected. And then we tried a version with an asterisk, and we tried the version with it blurred out. They rejected both. And Amazon rejected the ads that the publisher was supposed to run. And
who knew? That was so edgy.
Who knew?
Can you say why the title? Because it's so funny.
What? Say why?
Yeah, like
Say
your story about the tough
Oh,
titties.
why the title? Oh, why I named it
Yeah,
Tough
why'd
Titties?
you
Yeah,
call it
sure.
Tough Titties? I mean, A, it's just funny, but there's a reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
it's funny.
I didn't know what my book was going to be. I was writing all these stories and like what connected them. They were all like New York growing up, coming of age stories and stories of being a dork. My like working title that I knew it wasn't going to be was New Dork City. But just in case, I did reserve the GoDaddy domain.
Oh my God.
And then one day I found myself saying something that I say all the time, and usually in response to like so-and-so thinks you should do it this way, or so-and-so, what somebody wants that I'm not down for. I was like, yeah, well, Tough Titties. And it's like, oh, that's the title. I'm like, it just smacks of like 80s New York, coming of age, wearing a terry cloth halter top, streets scented with urine.
Yeah.
I felt like it speaks to all of that. And then also there's the other meaning of, well, there's just titties. I have them.
You have them.
And they're a whole thing.
They're a whole thing. I'm not going to give away the story that's in your book about your titties, but it's kind of remarkable, actually. Like, it's funny, but it's also kind of like, whoa, wild about what the body will do. So I'm going to leave that to people who get the book because it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a titular chapter.
There is. There's many, really.
Yeah, but titular.
Yeah, yes,
meaning,
titular.
yes.
That was good. Okay. Okay, Laura, I think you're great. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for making me laugh for over a decade.
Thank you.
I just adore
Thank you
you.
for queef.
Our queef love story.
Yes.
So if people want to,
Sorry, queef, a love story. Okay, go on.
that'll be my next book, or maybe yours,
or maybe a collab.
So if people want to get the book, connect with you, where should they go?
Okay, get the book at toughtittiesbook.com. I have a great bonus over there. So if you, all the booksellers are there. So if you go there and fill in the form, you'll get the bonus. So don't go to toughtitties.com. I can't tell you what you're going to find there. Toughtittiesbook.com. And then my digital home is talkingshrimp.com. You'll also find the book there. And then my main social platform, which I try not to go on too much as we discussed, is Instagram. So I'm at Laura Belgray.
Amazing.
Over on Instagram.
And as I mentioned, get on Laura's email list. It will make you a better writer. It will make you laugh. And those are 2 reasons enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So fun.
So much fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Plenty. I hope you laughed as much as I did. Of course, go get yourself a copy of Tough Titties. You will read it in a weekend. It is so funny. It is like, it's enriching, and it's honestly really permissive. I know Laura didn't write it with the intention of like passing along steps or anything like that. But as I mentioned, many, many helpful takeaways that will help you live your best life, even if you are the worst. If you liked this episode, please text it to a friend. Tell them, this lady is so funny. You got to go listen to her. Rate the podcast, leave us a review, subscribe, and I will see you for the next episode of Plenty. Woohoo! You made it to the end of an episode of Plenty. Don't you feel expanded already? So if you liked this episode, go ahead and leave us a review. Subscribe to the podcast. Text a friend and let them know they need to listen in. That helps us spread the word so more people can experience Plenty together. And if you want to ease your path to creating wealth, I created a money breakthrough guide for you where I interviewed over 20 of my high-earning women friends, and I asked them what their biggest money breakthrough guide was, and the responses were so mind-blowing and helpful, I knew I needed to pass them along to you. This is the kind of thing that is often only shared behind closed doors, but now you can access it totally for free. So head over to katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs and get the guide. Again, that's katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. and I'll see you next time for Plenty.